where today's May the 1st, St. Joseph the Worker Day. I'm going to explain that to you now. Where are all the men? Where have you gone, Joe DiMaggio? A nation turns its lonely eyes to you. Whoa. Simon and Garfunkel seeing the future, crying out and going like, where are all the men? Paula Cole wrote a song in the late 1990s or early 2000s. Where have all the cowboys? Where are all the cowboys? Now, she was making fun, I think. She was being sarcastic, but you could take it literally. On May the 1st, 1955, and Father Christopher Henderson will tell you all about this, the Vicar of Christ, the Pope, Pius XII, of blessed memory, addressed the Italian Men's Craftsmen Workers Association, Christian Craftsmen Workers Association. And he had asked them to come together because he had a very special message for them. Father Henderson will fill you in on some of the details. I would just like to say that I could have read this, but he has such an endearing voice. And yesterday, I had tried to get in touch with Father to ask him if he would actually come on the show and do this. He would. I think he would have if I would have insisted, but I went, you know what, Father, you go tend to the sisters. You get better work to do. I have your tape. So I spent 90 minutes on the phone with a real man who's a real priest from Alabama who really was in this fight and is in this fight. And he told me, he goes, I just love, Mackie, say what you heard in the background. She could hear him on the speakerphone, and she was just smiling. She goes, oh, I just love his voice.
He has the best Southern accent. It's great.
I spent 90 minutes on the phone with Father yesterday and confirming most of this, and he goes, you know, Mike, he goes, that's from like 2005. He goes, I didn't even know there was a recording of it still out there. Father Henderson, this is why all of you men need to pay attention. Put the smartphones down. Tell your wife to shut up and she should listen too. Because this is the most important thing you will hear today.
On May 1st, 1955, Pope Pius XII instituted the Feast of St. Joseph the Worker. That's the feast that we're celebrating today. In his address to the Christian Association of Italian Workers on that day, he said that it was his desire to give Christian baptism to May the 1st, so that it could be an annual reminder to the modern world that social peace will be brought about through the concrete and progressive triumph of Christian ideals. Now the question arises, why did Pope Pius XII choose May 1st for the Feast of St. Joseph the Worker, not some other day? Why did that date in particular require what he called Christian baptism? Well, the most obvious reason was the one that he gave in that address to the workers in 1955. In that address, the Holy Father implied that the first day of May, which the world of labor had claimed for itself as its own proper feast day, was too often used to incite men to discord, hate, and violence. But what did the Pope mean by that? Well, he was referring to May Day, May 1st, which the First Communist International in 1889 had declared to be International Workers' Day. So it was the violence and atheism of the communists that Pope Pius XII wanted to counteract by instituting the Feast of St. Joseph the Worker on May 1st. But we need to see that this significance of May 1st goes much deeper than that. Because the question needs to be asked now, well then, why did the communists choose May 1st in the first place over any other date? What sort of importance would May 1st have for them? Well, there's probably more than one reason. But one of the biggest reasons is because the international society that was the major forerunner of the Marxist communist was founded and introduced on May 1st, 1776. On May 1st, 1776, Adam Weishaupt, an apostate from the Catholic faith, and at one time a professor of canon law at Ingolstadt in Germany, on that day he founded the evil society of the Illuminati. And the goals of the Illuminati were as follows. 1, the abolition of all monarchies and ordered government. 2, the abolition of private property and all inheritance. 3, the abolition of patriotism and nationalism. 4, the abolition of family life and the institution of marriage. 5, the communal education of all children by the state only. And 6, the abolition of all religion. May 1st, 1776, the goals of the evil order of the Illuminati, the ideas which radically influenced the horror of the French Revolution, and the ideas which radically influenced the Marxist communists. For although the Illuminati went underground because the Christian kings discovered their plan, their ideas again surfaced in 1848 in the Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx. The goals of Marxist communism, as stated in the Communist Manifesto, are practically identical, almost word for word, as those proposed by the Illuminati of Adam Weishaupt in 1776. But another question comes to mind now. If the Marxist communists chose May 1st as their feast day, as a continuation of the program of the Illuminati, then why did Adam Weishaupt in 1776 choose that day in the first place? May 1st. Well, it has to be borne in mind that many of the founders of the Illuminati and also revolutionary Marxism were occultists. They were anti-Christian and anti-Catholic to the core. Weishaupt was thoroughly involved with occult masonry. Karl Marx was thoroughly conversant with pagan mythology. So March 1st for them would be the perfect feast day to celebrate the overthrow of Catholic Europe and inaugurate world revolution. Why? Why would it be the perfect day for them? Because May 1st is one of the biggest and most ancient pagan feast days that there is. And it is still one of the highest feast days in the modern pagan and witchcraft movements in America and throughout the world. The Druids called it Beltane, in honor of Bel, their Celtic god of the sun. The witches in Germany celebrated it the night before May 1st and called it Walpurgisnacht, a blasphemous misuse of the name of Saint Walburga, the virgin niece of Saint Barnabas who helped evangelize Germany. But it was a night and a day set aside for sexual immorality.
This is the Crusade Radio Network.
Diabolical and occult rituals. It symbolized the temporary cessation of all law and order so that sinful passions could be released. No work was done on that day or night because all their attention was placed upon their sinful reveling and frivolity. A day of utter chaos and immorality in the social order. So May 1st, indeed, became the proper day to bring in an era of revolution and defiance against God and His order for mankind. And these programs of the Illuminati and Leninist Marxist socialism and neo-paganism are still very much with us today. Our Lady of Fatima called them the errors of Russia. She said that they would be spread throughout the world if her requests were not heeded. I listed 6 of the goals of the Illuminati at the beginning of this talk. And 5 of those 6 goals are almost a reality in America today. 1, abolition of monarchies and all ordered government. Not following the 10 Commandments in government. 2, abolition of nationalism to bring in a government of one world under the UN, an international government. 3, abolition of family life and the institution of marriage, and you know how they're trying to corrupt that. 4, communal education of all children by the state. They're trying to make that mandatory. And 5, abolition of all religion, especially the Catholic religion, in any meaningful way, In any meaningful way. 5 out of 6 so far are more or less a reality in America today. Yes, it's still with us, but we don't talk about it, do we? So on this day, set aside by Pope Pius XII in honor of St. Joseph, we turn to the fathers here, and we address you. And first we'll address you with the words of Pope Pius XII in that address to the Italian workers, quotation. If you wish to be close to Christ, we again today repeat, go to Joseph. Yes, beloved workers, the Pope and the Church cannot withdraw from the divine mission of guiding, protecting, and loving, especially the suffering, who are all the more dear the more they are in need of defense and help, whether they be workers or other children of the people. This duty and obligation we, the Vicar of Christ, desire to declare again clearly here on the first day of May. The humble workman of Nazareth not only personifies before God and the Church the dignity of the man who works with his hands, but he is also the provident guardian of you and your families. Close quote. So as imitators of St. Joseph the worker, fathers of families here, I ask you today to heed the words of our Holy Father. Pope Pius XII in that address spoke especially about guiding, protecting, defending, helping, loving, and guarding. Because it must be remembered that the work of St. Joseph was not in the first place carpentry work. He did do that, of course, but that did not hold the primacy. In the first place, the work of St. Joseph was spiritual work. His soul was just before Almighty God. He was confirmed in the state of grace so that he could be a spiritual leader in the Holy Family and be a man who was accustomed to be looked up to, even by the Queen of Heaven and Earth herself, and yes, even by God himself, his foster son, Jesus Christ. Because the Father is the spiritual leader in the family.
Okay, there's another 6 minutes of this from Father Christopher Henderson. We will publish the entire address on the YouTube channel. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're watching or listening right now. Tap the subscribe button, hit the bell, give it the thumbs up. You know the drill. But mainly subscribe, and tell everyone else to subscribe. Who has the nads to play this publicly today? I spoke with the author of that talk. I spoke with Father Henderson yesterday at great length for 90 minutes. And he first of all, this is a world-class gentleman. This is a world-class Southern gentleman. And he kept reiterating through our conversation, But Mr. Church, that was then and this is now. It's gotten worse. He kept saying, it's gotten worse. Father is of the belief that the men, especially the priests, the devout ones that have survived the iconoclasm, if you will, of trying to purge good priests and good men from public positions of notoriety as pastors and priests and preachers and as fathers of their communities. Those that have survived, many of them are laying low. And it's not because they're afraid, it's because more they don't want to put their stewardship of their flock at risk. Now, he didn't tell me that per se, but that's pretty much the gist of it. What he did tell me, he said, and again, this is Father Christopher Henderson of the Fathers of Mercy. He did tell me, he goes, I believe, Mr. Church, that it will be the conversion of America when good, manly preaching of good, sound doctrine meets the ancient liturgy. And he goes, that is a combination that most cannot resist. I went, and I raised my hand and went like, I sure as hell couldn't resist it, because I was a falling away lout until those two things hit me over the head. But this is the feast of St. Joseph the Worker, and it's not May Day. And this is the reason why I wanted to play this, because this is a clarion call to all of you men out there. Do what Father just suggested that you do. You know, if you go to Montreal, they conjugated the two words and put them together, Montreal. Turn it into Montreal. And the French is Montreal. If you go to Montreal and you go to the Basilica of St. Joseph, where St. Andre Bessette is buried, and where the original little chapel is, there's a great story I'd like to tell you about all that, and I will here when we come back here on the Crusade Radio Network on the Feast of St. Joseph the Worker.